Step one, we admitted that we were what? Powerless over our dependencies, our shortcomings, our character defects, and that our lives had become messed up. Messed up. First in this, I want to make sure that we thank God that He's pointing these things out to us. It's, again, for us that suffered through an addictive, addiction, or whether it be substances, whatever it was obvious that our lives were messed. But I really believe that this fits, actually all 12 steps, because they do come from God's Word, are in line with what people need to overcome their vices, right? Their sin. Sin. It is sin. If we continue to do things that we know are wrong to get in the way of our relationship with God, the Creator, right, of all things, who created us in a way to seek Him, then we need to work on that. We need to remove those things from our lives. Paul, in Romans 7, especially here in verse 18, where he then recognizes his sin. I know that nothing good lives in me. I want to do what is right, but I can't. On our own, we cannot overcome. Has not our history proven that to us? That on our own, we can't overcome these temptations. That we inevitably give in to them when we try to do things the way we want to do them, instead of doing things the way God has planned for us. So we have to come into that relationship. So, for recovery to begin, we must recognize that we have character flaws that are beyond our control. And that's a nice way of putting it, right? Character flaws. Deep down inside, there's a sense of brokenness that is a constant reminder of our humanity. And again, men, this is humanity. We all have those things that are within us. Ours are a little more obvious, again, but it's obvious. They're not only just character flaws. We've been harming ourselves around us for a long period of time. Step one requires our recognition that our lives have become, again, unmanageable. That we are not able to manage these things on our own. These character defects, these shortcomings, the sin. Sin. In our sickness, at our bottoms, we cry out for help. And God puts us on a path. I always say, you might not recognize it, right? But when we're screaming inside, in a detox or on a sidewalk or behind bars, wherever that was, that your whole body was screaming like, help. Help me. God, help me. Maybe even if we weren't adding that God, He heard us. And He puts us on a path. Admitting that we need help is the beginning. And this is a journey we're on. It's not just something that we come in and we go to detox and we get that out of our system and we know how to live right from there on out. God puts programs like this for us to get grounded, to get a little foundation under our feet. God gives us the 12 steps, really. They come from God's Word, so that we might have a program of recovery. And not only recovery from the substances, but recovery from the sin in our lives, the things that we used to do. We can't just turn off a switch. So we need help with that. Hopefully we will get to a place, right, like here, where our behavior is under control. Sometimes we need outside forces to help us with that, and we will be able to maintain sobriety. The sobriety isn't everything. You need sobriety to be able to clear your mind and your heart enough to focus on God and work on that journey, right, to begin that journey. But as long as we are in the human body, we will have to contend with our sinful nature. So Paul said of himself, and we can all relate to this, I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature. I want to do what is right, but I can't. I want to do what is good, but I don't. There is another power within me that is at war with my mind. And that power makes me a slave to sin that is still within me. Right? Those thoughts in our mind. Step one is when we recognize that those thoughts, those desires that we know are outside of God's will for our lives, that are such a big part of who we are, we recognize that they have to change, that they have to be removed, and that's step one. King David described God's tenderness towards us because of our human condition. And remember, again, it's the human condition. Sin is what causes us in our human condition to come up short. The Lord is like a father to his children, tender and compassionate to those who fear him. For he knows how weak we are. He remembers we are only dust. God knows how weak we are. God knows we will come up short at times. God knows that we need wisdom and strength, right, to carry out his will for our lives. So no matter how far we progress, our sinful nature will always incline toward us being susceptible to the lure of our addictions, to our old sinful nature, to us, because it's always going to be back here. Right? Knowing that is half the battle. It's always going to be back here. Things are going to come up, and you're going to see things in your face, right? It's going to seem again like your life is unmanageable once more, and you're going to want to return to that which you know. But this is when you need to get on your knees. We can't afford to forget this or let down our guard. Maintaining sobriety is something we need to nurture for the rest of our lives, one day at a time. And listen, when I talk about this, right, I say you never need a facility like this ever again if you do this every day. You never need to put a substance in your body ever again. Your life does not have to return to that old unmanageability. There's going to be times where things seem a little out of your control, and it might, but these are the times that you need to focus even more on God. But we also have a reason for great hope. By trusting Christ and recognizing our helplessness against the power of sin, we open our life to the transforming power of God. And step one is the beginning of that transformation. Recognizing that our lives are out of control. Recognizing that we need help. There's something wrong. So that's where step one has us. It's the beginning of a journey. It's the beginning of a lifelong process of drawing closer and closer to God. It's not unique to us. This is the same for all people. Everyone, right, that is seeking God, they know that they are sinners, but they are saved by grace. We are sinners, saved by grace. And as long as each day we maintain that relationship with him, we will be able to overcome those temptations. So again, we admitted we are powerless over our dependencies, and that our lives had become unmanageable.